Is a real acoustic piano still a viable foundation for a worship keys rig? Let's dig into this topic in this video. Hi, I'm Rob Sharp, and this is Geared for Worship, where we're helping worship ministries be more efficient to be more effective. So in this era of synth-heavy worship, can an acoustic piano really have relevance? I think it can, but I think the bigger question is it right for your church culture and where you're heading? Every church is different, and there's no one-size-fits-all answers, so there's no ultimate rig. There are 5 major questions you have to ask yourself. Number 1, what is your style? Does that include a lot of piano? Does it include beefy piano parts? Do you see that style evolving over time? That's the obvious question, and the next is not so obvious. Are you financially prepared to care for a real instrument? Regular maintenance and tuning, climate-controlled rooms, humidifiers or dehumidifiers. I don't think most churches think through this. Or if they do, it's not as thorough as it should be. Sure, slapping some dehumidifiers, keeping it covered creates a microclimate, but does not eliminate the need for a climate-controlled room. If the cost of keeping a huge worship center leads to huge cost, it's going to lead to huge temperature and humidity shifts, as an acoustic piano is going to take the brunt of that economic decision. The more the temperature or humidity shifts, the more maintenance and tuning is required. Next, what would a return on investment be on your purchase of a new piano? What is the market for a used piano in your region? How much will you lose if you cannot find a buyer? How long do you plan on keeping the piano before giving it a major overhaul? Next, what is the culture of your church? Is your church an established church that has this long history with the piano? Is a room used for a lot of weddings and funerals? Are there aesthetic aspects of the piano that are important? Next, how much relational equity do you have to move to or away from an acoustic piano? Questions like, how long have you been there? What is your relationship like with your pianist and your keyboardist? Have you invested in discussions with this, with influencers within your ministry, your staff, and in the church? So there is not one right answer, just one right answer for you. My personal thoughts, every church I've worked at, large and small, has had issues with HVAC and keeping the largest room on campus manageable in terms of climate and cost. Every church I have served at has used an acoustic grand because it was important to the culture, and you all had a modern worship style, generally speaking. So here are some thoughts if you're trying to move forward and need new sounds, but removing a piano is not an option for whatever reason. Number 1, stack a keyboard on top. Depending on the keyboard, this could be an issue. It's a depth issue. Have a keyboard to the right in an L shape. This is probably the most practical solution. Number 3, try a hybrid piano like the Yamaha C1S that has both MIDI capabilities as well as acoustic strings. And number 4, a piano shell with a keyboard in it. Maybe the most radical, but very practical. Any pianist, though, will tell you there is nothing like the real thing in terms of presence, and that is completely true. But as leaders, we have to help our people see a bigger picture. Maybe you are dealing with a mic bleed coming into the piano, or a real estate issue, or staging issues, wanting to be more flexible. Or maybe the instrument is just in really poor quality, and the investment to restore it or in replacing it is just not the best decision from a stewardship perspective. Communication is key here, no pun intended. A little advice I will give you is if you are shopping for a piano, consider your context. Yamaha is mixing very well with the band. They are a little brighter and cut in the mix easier. Also, go small. It allows you to create flexibility, and generally, you are able to include more people and instruments on stage rather than just one huge instrument taking up a huge portion of the stage that is not reflected in the mix. So maybe a piano is right for you, maybe it isn't. I'm not here to tell you that it is or isn't. I think it can be. I think it is a great instrument, and it's not going to fail you in terms of will it work on Sunday morning. It isn't dependent upon CPU usage. It isn't dependent upon a plug-in. It isn't dependent upon electricity. If the lights go out, you can still have worship with an acoustic grand. So I think an acoustic grand has its place. But the question is, does it have a place in your church? I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope it's given you some food for thought. And I hope you will subscribe and click the notifications, give us a big thumbs up, and tell others about Geared for Worship, where we're helping worship ministries be more efficient in order to be more effective.